So in this one, we're looking at the January 2022, and here I'm focusing on the Maths A Paper 1H. And this is a complete walkthrough of pretty much all of this. So as always, guys, and just like my previous videos, I'm going to go through every question step by step. And I'll take my time with it so we can all follow through together. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump in, guys. So 24 questions to work with. Let's do it. Now, A. Simplify a to the 7 times a to the 4. Okay, and same for B. Now, when you times bases like this, you actually add the power, so it'll be literally 7 plus 4, meaning it's going to be a to the 11. Nice. Similarly, if you're dividing terms like this, you subtract the powers because they have the same base. So 15 take away 3, which is 12, so it'll be w to the 12. Nice. C. Simplify all of this to the power 2. Now, a nice little trick, guys, is literally just attach this power 2 to each of these ones, yeah? And when you do that, you can have 8 to the power 2, which is 64. And then 2 times 5, which is 10, so x to the 10. And lastly, y to the power 3 times 2, which is 6. Yeah, that's all that's done. Now D. Make t the subject of this equation. Now, easy little trick. What I personally like to do is just rewrite this and make t that on the left hand side. So let's do this. So we've got t cubed minus av equals c. So just flip it around. And now let's move minus av across. To do that, you need to plus it because you do the opposite sign. So it'll be t cubed equals c plus a to the v. Now to get rid of this power 3, you do the opposite. So the opposite of cubing is cube rooting. So that means t is going to equal all of that on the right hand side to the cube root. And cube root, you put a little 3 there, yeah? And that's it. That's D done. Now number 2. So Daniel, Gabriel, and Hadley share some money in the ratio of 3 to 5 to 9. Oh yeah, guys, also, in these kind of questions, always have a calculator. You don't want to make mistakes, because there's a famous saying, which is prevention is better than cure. Okay, it's an Islamic saying. So let's put it down. So 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 9 is going to be 17. So there's 17 parts, yeah? And this is like literally words to live by, parts. Now, the difference between the amount of money that Gabriel receives and the amount of money that Hadley receives is 196 euros. Work out the amount of money that Daniel receives. So just in order, yeah? Let's put 359 for a second. And just put the names on top. So it's always written in the order of names. So Daniel has 3 parts, whereas Gabriel has 5 parts, and Hadley has 9 parts. Now it tells us the difference between the amount of money that Gabriel receives and that Hadley receives is 196 euros. So the difference between 5 and 9 parts, which is 4 parts, has to equal 196 euros. Now it's easy. Now the trick is always find a single part, yeah? When you find one part, you're pretty much done. So divide this by 4, so 1 part equals 49 euros, yeah? Remember, 196 divided by 4 is 49. So now, they want to know how much Daniel receives. Well, he receives 3 parts. So 49 times 3 gives you 147 euros. And that's it. Alright, number 3. So the diagram shows triangle ABC, and then they want us to work out the length of the side AB. So straight away, call AB X, yeah? So we're going to label it. Now, every time we got a right angle triangle and you got an angle involved, we need to use SOHCAHTOA, yeah? So trigonometry. And always remember, SOHCAHTOA is just literally sine, cos, and tan. And the rest of them, the OAH is opposite, adjacent, and the hypotenuse sides. So for example, so every time you got an angle, the opposite length is always opposite angle, just in the name. So X is O, op. Whereas the long diagonal side, or opposite the angle, is the hypotenuse. And that's 8.4. So now we ask ourselves, what has O and H? Well, look at SO. SO has O and H, so we're going to be using sine. So in this order, it will be sine of the angle, so sine 65, equals, and then O, then H, so O over H. So X over 8.4. Now all you want to do is make X the subject, so we're going to multiply 8.4 across. So it's going to be like 8.4 times sine 65, and that's going to be the answer we want. So now literally just get your calculator, guys. Enter this, and if you do that, you should get, yep, 7.614. So Sarah makes and sells mugs. One day she makes 150 mugs. Her total cost for making these mugs is 1,140, so let's just note these down. Of these mugs, 2/5 are small mugs, 30% are medium mugs, and the rest are large mugs. So let's work at the rest, yeah? So 2/5, if you don't know what that is, I mean, you can just put in your calculator, 2 over 5, that's literally 0.4 or 40%, yeah? And we know this is 32% or 0.32. And then to get the rest, just add up the two values, 0.4 plus 0.32. And remember, they always add up to 1. It always adds up to a whole number, yeah? So when you add them up and then subtract it from 1, you should be left with 0.8 or 28%. Now, let's keep going. So here is Sarah's price list for selling each mug, okay? Now, she sells all 150 mugs. Work out her percentage profit. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to firstly work out how many small, medium, large mugs there actually are, yeah? So let's do the first one, yeah? So for small mugs, it's going to be 40% of 150. So in your calculator, just write 0.4 times 150. And if you do that, 0.4 times 150, you should get 60 mugs. For medium, it's going to be 0.32 times 150. And then do that as well, you should get 48 mugs. And then for the large, same thing applies. 0.28 times 150, you should get 42. And you realize all of this actually adds up to 150. Now we know how much each one's worth. Okay, she wants to sell all of them. So now we need to multiply all of these by the cost. So £8.50, £11.20, and £14.20. Now let's work this all out, guys, and then add up your final answers, yeah? So let's have a look. So the first one will give us £5.10, and then the medium will cost £537.60. Remember, in your decimal, in your calculator, say 0.6. Just write as 0.60. And for the large, should give us £596.40. Now I just sum all these up here. You should get exactly 1,644. So it looks to me she made a nice healthy profit. Like you can even imagine, it's like extra 500 above it, which is nice. Now to find out the percentage profit, it's always the difference or the change over the original amount that you invested in. So it's going to look like this. So the formula is always the change over the original. Okay, and then you have times it by 100 to make a percentage, yeah? So what's the change? So let's do it. So it'll be 1,644 minus 1140. If you do that, you should be left with £504, yeah? So you put 504 here over the original, which is 1140. £1,140, and then times it by 100, and now we're going to see exactly what that's worth, yeah? So once you put that in the calculator, you should get a percentage profit of, and I'm guessing it should be near 50% or less. Well, you should get about 44% to the nearest whole number, yeah? That should be your answer. Nice. So, let's move on. And that's worth 5 marks. Wow, that's a lot. Now 5. Jenny has 6 cards. Each card has a whole number written on it so that the smallest number is 5, largest is 24, the median of the 6 numbers is 14, and the mode of 6 numbers is 8. So let's do it one at a time. So they already covered the first 2 points. Now, when they say the median is 14, median is usually a number bang in the middle, yeah? So you can kind of choose where to put it. You can put 14, a number here, which is less than 14, a number here just bigger than 14. So for example, I could have said the numbers here should be 13 and 15, because the middle number over here would have to be 14. Okay? Now they also said the mode is 8. So actually, going back one more step, just to be extra clear, if the mode is 8, that means these two have to be 8. It means 8 is the most common number. So there's going to be a number 8 plus something actually is going to give us, well, and then you half it, you should get 14 in the middle. So let's call this number x, yeah? So 8 plus x, and then you half it, should give us 14. So let's work out x. So times in 2 across, you get 8 plus x equals 28. And subtracting 8 across, you're left with 20. So the number over here must be 20. Now we've got one more number left. So it says here, for the remaining 4 cards, write on each dotted line a number that could be. So this could be any number between 20 and 24. So I'm going to just say 21. And that should be fine. Okay. Now, next one, a basketball team plays 6 games. After playing 5 games, the team has a mean score of 21. So that means the total score will be 5 times 21, yeah? And 5 times 21, that should give us, remember, always use a calculator. You can work out mentally, but you've got a calculator for a reason, yeah? 105. And then after playing 6 games, the team has a mean score of 23. Same thing applies. 6 times 23. Do the same thing. And you should get 138. Cool. So basically the 6 game is basically the difference between these two, isn't it? Now, B. Work out the number of points the team scored in the 6th game. Well, we did it. Subtract these two numbers. So 138 take away 105. You should be left with a difference of 33. That's it. Nice. That was quite quick. Now 6A. Solve the inequality. Remember, treat this like an equal sign, yeah? So you're solving like a normal algebra equation. You want to make x a subject. So to make x a subject, we want to put the non-x across, so add 7 across, so it's going to be like 5x less than equal 2 plus 7, which is 9, and divide 5 across. So x is less than equal 9 over 5. That's it. It doesn't tell you to leave it as a decimal or a fraction, so just leave it like that. Make your life easy. Trust me. Now, B. Factorize. This comes up everywhere. It's one of my favorite questions. So factorize means, and this is a quadratic here because you got something squared plus a regular term and a number term. So this means immediately put those double brackets out there, and to get y squared, the first one should always be y times y. If it's x squared, it'd be x times x. Now to fill out the number over here, you need 2 numbers that multiply to make 35. So let's do it. So to get 35, let's think of 2 numbers here. So one possibility could be 3 and 5, 3 and 7. No, what am I talking about? That's a bad mental math. I meant 5 and 7. And is there any possibility? Well, 1 and 35. But I doubt we're going to use that one, yeah? And now they need to have a difference of 2. So, of course, 5 and 7. And to get this right, it has to be minus 2. So it needs to be minus 7 plus 5. That gives us minus 2. Yeah, that's done. And now this is kind of literally the same question. Hence solve what you just did but equal to 0. So let's copy it down here. So it's just going to be y plus 5, y plus minus 7 equals 0. And the cool thing of this one, when you take them out of the bracket, the y plus 5, you just flip the sign when you solve it. So it will literally be y equals negative 5 or y equals positive 7. Okay, that's it. That's just a simple thing to follow. It's always like that. Now, let's move on to number 7. So, set theory, yeah? And you've got Venns as well. So, this is known as the universal set. You've got pretty much all the numbers that's allowed to go inside this box in the Venn diagram. So, from 4 all the way to 15. Now, it tells us that when A and B intersect, you get 5, 10, 15. So, that means the middle part should be 5, 10, 15. This symbol means intersecting, what they have in common. So, let's just enter it in. So, it'll be 5, 10, 15. Okay, cool. So for the next one, we got B prime or not B. Okay, so when you get this little apostrophe, it literally means not B. Now, this tells you all the elements that's not supposed to be in a B circle. So what you want to do immediately is you want to work out what's actually in the B circle. And that's going to be every number that wasn't mentioned. So let's have a look. So you got 7, 8, 9. That's not in B, but then they didn't mention 4, 5, 6. So B would have 4, 5, 6. It also has a 10. And actually it also has a 15, doesn't it? Okay, so that's all the numbers supposed to be in B. Same for A, yeah? Let's do the same for A. These are numbers that's not supposed to be in A, but then what's supposed to be in A could be 5, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 15. Now here comes the part where we have to spot. Remember what I said over here? This is what A and B has in common. Well, we know A and B has a 5, 10, and 15, so we can immediately just circle the ones that are exclusive to just the rest of the circle. So we got 4 and 6. So that these two go inside the B circle, 4 and 6. This is just B, okay? Whereas 5, 10, and 15 are also intersecting. Same thing for the A circle. Let's underline the 5, 10, and 15, and these rest of these numbers are the ones that actually go inside the just A. So 9, 11, 12, 13. 12 and 13. Now to make sure all the numbers are here, because remember the rest of the numbers will now go outside the circles. So what number is actually missing? Well, let's check it out. So we got 4, that's checked. 4, 5, 6. There's no 7, so 7 goes outside. 8 goes outside. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14 goes outside. And that's how your Venn should look like. Cool. Let me know what you guys think of this one. You know, any questions, let me know. So just remember, guys, I'm actually doing this all mentally. I will check the mark scheme as well, but let's just have a look, see how it goes. Now, number 8. A equals 4.2 times 10 to the negative 24, and B equals 3 times 10 to the 145. Work out the value A times B. Okay, so you multiply these together, give your answer in standard form. When you multiply these together, first you just work the regular numbers, and then multiply the 10 to the power numbers, so the standard form numbers. So in your calculator, let's do 4.2 times 3. That can give us something decent, and that should give us 12.6. Whereas now, 10 to the negative 24 times 10 to 145. When you multiply things in the same base, remember, just like algebra, you add the powers. So it'll be minus 24 add 145, minus 24 add 145, and if you do that, you should get, well, I'm doing it on the calculator because, again, I'm trying to make sure this is as accurate as possible, 121. So that means so far we have 12.6 times 10 to the 121. However, this ain't standard form, guys. It looks like it, but this 12.6 is too big. It needs to be a number less than 10, and I guess bigger than 0, or bigger than 1, so between 1 and 10. Now, you just need to get this decimal across here, basically. So the trick is, when you shrink this, then you got to enlarge this one, yeah? So this gets smaller, that gets bigger. But if you did the other way around, if this got bigger, you would have to shrink this one. So to shrink it will now be 1.26. And when I say enlarge it, it means just times it, just add the power by 1. So it'll be 122. That's your answer, guys, yeah? Cool. Now we move on to number 9. Okay, let's see. So a diagram shows an isosceles triangle ABC. So here's our lengths, okay? So these are isosceles. Work out the area of triangle ABC. You know what? Just looking at this in a different way, we can actually, because it's an isosceles triangle, this immediately means that these two lengths, well, we can see are equal. So we can split this nicely in the center. And there's a right angle triangle. So what you can do, we can basically work out this height. And by the way, if the whole B to C is 28, that means just this B to this midpoint must be 14. So let's resketch this. Okay, we now got a length of 14, 17.5 on the hypotenuse, and now we're going to work out this height. Let's call it x. Okay, so once we work out this height using Pythagoras, then we can work out the area quite easily, and I'll show you guys how. So remember, Pythagoras states that you got the square of the two short sides must equal the hypotenuse squared. So it's going to be x squared plus 14 squared plus 7, plus again, that's crazy, equals 17.5 squared. Yeah, if I just wrote that, it would have been no equal sign, which would just been stuck there. So now to make x squared a subject, let's subtract these two, yeah? So 17.5 squared minus 14 squared. Let's put that in the calculator, guys, yeah? 17.5 squared minus 14 squared. If you do that, you should get an x squared answer of 110.25, and don't forget to square root. Remember, you want x, not x squared, yeah? If you do that, you should get a nice clean answer of 10.5. So the height is actually 10.5. Now that's perfect, guys, yeah? When it comes to area of triangle, all we need is base times height, right? And because we've got two triangles, we can just double it. So let's do it. Clean over here. So you got now a base of 14, and you know the height is 10.5. And remember, there's two triangles, yeah? So you can just double your answer. And if you actually put it together, by the way, this will actually make a rectangle. So you could just do 14 times 10.5. But just to make it, you know, clear and less confusing, stick to the rules. Area of a triangle is base times height over 2. And then because you got two of them, times your result by 2. Okay? And when you do all of that, you should get an area of 147 centimeters squared. Right, so a straight line L has this equation, so always do like a nice straight line, but we'll get there in a second. Find the gradient of L. Now when it comes to straight line equations, we should always think of y equals mx plus c, where m here is the gradient they're talking about, and c here is the y-intercept. Okay, so it's always the same concept. Now, what this means is that you want to basically rearrange this to make y the subject, yeah? So let's firstly minus 7x across. So we're going to have 2y equals, I'm going to put here, minus 7x plus 10. And now we need to divide 2. So it'll be y equals minus 7 over 2x plus 5. Okay, just divide everything by 2. Therefore, the gradient is literally the number in front of the x, which is minus 7 over 2. Okay, and that's exactly what they want. Now, let's have a look. Now B, find the coordinates of the point where L crosses the y-axis, yeah? So just visually speaking, just to understand what they mean by that, here's your y-axis, and because you've got a negative gradient, this means that the equation, or when you draw it, is a downward slope, so it's going in this direction, yeah? And they want to find out what happens when it crosses the y-axis. Now if you think about it for a second, okay, if I just draw an x-axis now, just for the sake of it, you can see that when it hits the y-axis, the x coordinate is 0. It's like on the origin line. So this means when you hit the y-axis, that secretly means let x equal 0. That's what you want. So go into this equation, just let x equal 0. So you're going to have y equals minus 7 over 2 times 0 plus 5. So obviously y equals 5. I just realized something now. Something that crosses the y-axis is also the y-intercept. So we could just copy this answer directly. But for other general questions, you know, it's always good to substitute points in, so that way you can learn in one go instead of having two different ways. But yeah, in this case it's y equals 0. So they want the coordinates now. So the coordinates are obviously going to be x and y, so 0 and 5. It should be entered like that. Okay, so investment. Ooh, okay, so more riba. I see this every year now. So Himari invests 200,000 yen for 3 years in a savings account, paying compound interest. Ooh. The rate of interest is 1.8%. So that's the underlying key value. So 200,000 yen, 3 years, and 1.8 compounded interest. Compound interest means the value is going up. The opposite is depreciation and going down. Now, we know that it's 1.8% for the first year. Ooh, very specific. And X% for each of the second year and the third year. Okay, and the value of the investment at the end of the third year became 209,754 yen. Okay, very clear, very easy way to work this out. If there was just 3 years and one single interest rate, we would use the OV formula, which is OV 1 plus the rate for the number of years, in this case 3, would equal the new value. This means that the rate of interest would have been the same for 3 years. But because it's only first year is 1.8%, but the next two are the same, we're going to rewrite this. We're going to write this as, now OV 1 plus, and because you've got percentage, write it as 1.8 over 100. That's your first year, power 1 if you wish. And then second year and third year, it will be 1 plus x over 100. Okay, and this can be, and because it's 2 years long, second and third year means 2 years long, that has to be power 2. So these powers need to add up to 3, basically. And that's going to equal NV. So the new value is going to be 209,754 yen. I'm going to go ahead and update the OV. It has to be 200,000 there as well. So this is your equation, guys. Now, we're going to do a little bit of algebra, so that way we can just solve it all at once, yeah? So first things first, let's go ahead and make this entire bracket the subject, yeah? So I'm gonna divide all of this across there. So in your calculator, let's put, so we can say that 1 plus x over 100 squared must equal the right hand side over everything that doesn't have x, over all of these guys, yeah? So 200,000 bracket 1 plus 1.8 over 100. Yeah, try and enter all of that, yeah? There's a lot of numbers. So let's put that in. So 1 plus 1.8 over 100. You should get 1.03022. Let's copy as much decimals because it's not rounded, yeah? That, something like that. Now, again, let's finish this off. So to get rid of the square, you need to square root. So it'll be 1 plus x over 100 equals square root of all of that. Let's not enter this now, guys. And then to make x subject, we need to subtract 1 and then times it by 100. But let's do one at a time. So x over 100 equals all of that again. Be careful, yeah, the minus 1 is outside the square root. And then finally, so square root your current answer, minus 1, times that by 100, and you should get x value of 1.5%. It's going to be so clean, 1.50000. Correct answer, one decimal place. Yeah. If you guys got this, let me know, yeah? X is 1.5%. Well, I shouldn't say percent because that's something else. X is just 1.5. Well, it is a percent to be fair. But yeah, that's what X should be. X should be 1.5, yeah? That's it. We're doing this really fast, I have to say. Now, the table gives information about the times in minutes taken by 80 customers. And guys, forgive me for this buzzing sound, yeah? It's just, I need a new headset.
I haven't had it for a while, so I need to order some actually. Okay. Now this is taken by 80 customers. That means the total frequency, guys, is 80. Frequency means like, how many people or staff or items. So we've got 7 people, between 0 and 10 minutes. And this is to do shopping, yeah, they're time shopping. And you've got 26 people that like to shop between 10 and 20 minutes. I know my family, they're near the bottom. They're definitely between up to an hour. So, complete the cumulative frequency table. Okay, cumulative frequency is easy. It just means you add as you go. This tells you, for example, how many were altogether the first 10 minutes from 0, how many altogether from the first 20 minutes. So you kind of see that they're combining these two. So let's do it. So the first one is going to be 7. Actually, I'll do it here. The second would be 7 plus 26. Again, use your calculator, guys. It's literally a gift. Next one, add another 24. So that's going to be, this is meant to be 57. Yes, it checks out. This means you did alright. If it checks out 80, you did alright. Now, on the grid opposite, draw a cumulative frequency graph for your table. So it's standard stuff, yeah? So the way we do it, we take this as coordinates, yeah? So for example, the first one would be like 10, 7, 20, 33, and so on. And like that, yeah? So that's your x coordinate, that's your y coordinate. So let's have a look. So visually speaking, I'll do a bit and I'm just going to like time lapse it. So the first one was 10, 7. So that would look something like here. So 10 across, and then 7 up. It has to be here, isn't it? Let's mark it down. And always start from 0 here, because in the beginning, no one's shopping because no time has happened. Next one would be 20, 33. 20 up to 33 just should be here. 78 should be here. And last one hits at 80, which is nice. That's it. And now we need to curve it. So this is the part where I'm going to zoom out a bit now. I have to curve it. Make sure it's not a straight line. Yeah? It has to be curved. So it has to be like a S, like a snake's. Yeah, I should not have done that. But yeah, anyway, in line, try and do it one go. Try not to do what I did over there. But yeah, it should look something like this. So let's zoom back in. Okay, that's better. Okay, so moving on. Use your graph to find the estimate for the median. So the median just means the middle person from the cumulative frequency. So if there's 80 people, then you can assume that the middle value is 40. It's the halfway mark. So 40 means this coordinate here. And that means that coordinate here is going to be a median time of 22, give or take. 22 minutes, I believe. You have a range of values, so you can get away with a couple of different values. Now, one of the 80 customers is chosen at random. Use your graph to find an estimate for the probability that the time taken by this customer was more than 42 minutes. Let's find out how many customers there were after 42 minutes, yeah? So, how many customers after 42 minutes? So, after 42 minutes, so 42 is over here, so we're going to follow this line up. Oh, I lost it. 42. So 42, wow, just the one I did not want, so over here. So I'll say it's probably here. So this means how many customers were there? So we know that up to 42 minutes there were 72 customers. That means the remaining, the difference between 18 and 72 are 8. So there were 8 customers. That's how many they want. So we're talking about 8 customers. Now, so in this case the probability is going to be 8 over how many there were. So 8 over 80. Yes, that's not bad. Or 1 over 10 if you want to simplify it. Yeah, should be fine. Now, 13. Expand and simplify 5x times that double bracket. Guys, I love algebra. This is the kind of questions I like to do. So what we do first is always expand the double bracket first. So leave 5x alone for a second. Just get this bracket open. Now, to multiply this, I always do this. So it'll be x times 3x, and then x times minus 4. And then 2 times 3x, and 2 times minus 4. So doing it all at once, it's going to be x times 3x is 3x squared, and x times minus 4 is minus 4x, 2 times 3x is plus 6x, and lastly, 2 times minus 4 is minus a. And that's that part done. Now, as always, guys, you have to collect like terms, so you've got minus 4 plus 6. Trust me, just use a calculator, not 100% sure, but you should get plus 2. So this equation simplifies to 3x squared plus 2x, so that's what the middle part is, minus 8. Now the final step is to times all this by the 5x outside, So 5x times 3x squared is 15x to the power 3 or cubed. 5x and 2x gives you 10x squared. And the last one gives you 40x. Cool. Let's see if that was the right one. B. Simplify completely all of that to the power minus 3 over 4. Ooh, okay, minus 3 over 4. So, nice little trick. Just stick this minus 3 over 4 to each of these terms directly. So, for example, it's going to look like this. So, you've got 16 to the minus 3 over 4. W, 8 times minus 3 over 4 over y, 20 times minus 3 over 4. Now, what does that mean? So, let's put this calculator. 16 to the power minus 3 over 4. Again, you don't need to think. You have a calculator, and it does all your work for you. When you do that, you will realize that 16 to the minus 3 over 4 gives you 1 over 8. This means 8 needs to be at the bottom. So if I had to draw this line, 8 is now over here. You don't need to put a 1 here because 1 times anything disappears. If it was like 2/8, then I'll say 2 over 8 like that. But 1 you can just ignore. Now, next one, 8, so now you just copy the W and you just do 8 times this. 8 times the fraction inside. So 8 times minus 3 over 4. It should give us minus 6, so W to the negative 6. And lastly, for the y term, 20 times that 3/4 should get 15 minus 15, so it'll be y to the negative 15. And that's your answer, guys. You know, because you've got negative powers, you can do this upside down as well. So your other answer could be this. W to the negative 6 means 1 over W6. And same for this one, they're reciprocals. So it'll literally be y to the positive 15 up and W to positive 6 down. So both of these are valid. There's no problem with any. I would stop at that point. You don't want to take any risks. Now, 14. So we have ICA. ICA has 2 packets of seeds, packet A and B. Now, there are 12 seeds in packet A and 7 of these are sunflower seeds. Okay? And 15 seeds in packet B and 8 are sunflower seeds too. Okay, cool. Let's see what this means. Now, ICA is going to take a random seed from packet A and a seed from packet B. So we're going to assume probably when she takes it, I don't think she's going to put it back in. She didn't say she'd put it back in, did she? So let's fill out. So we know altogether there are 7 out of 12 sunflower seeds for A and 8 out of 15 for B. So let's have a look. So sunflower and not sunflower. So remember, all this has to sum up to 1. So if you've got 7 sunflower, that means you've got 5 that ain't sunflower. Now, if she took 1 sunflower seed, she had 7 initially. Oh, no. This is 2 separate. This is A and B. So you copy directly. So you got 8 out of 15, which is in packet B. Now, they made this question very friendly. Usually, they try to trick us. Now, next one would be 7 out of 15. And it's going to be the same at the bottom, guys, yeah? A lot of the layer papers typically have harder versions of these now, but they've made it simpler. And next one, same thing applies. Sunflower, not sunflower. So it's going to be 8 out of 15 and 7 out of 15. Just like that. Now, calculate the probability that ICA will take 2 sunflower seeds. So you just follow the sunflower tree. So it'll be sunflower here and sunflower there. So it'll be 7 over 12 times 8 over 15. So let's write it down. 7 over 12 times 8 over 15. And just, again, put that in your calculator. 8 out of 15. And you should get 14 out of 45, which is simplified. Again, leave as a fraction, yeah? Alright, 15. So A is inversely proportional to C squared. What does that even mean? So when something is proportional, it's usually the symbol A is proportional to, well, if it's inverse proportional, it means 1 over C squared. It means that's the kind of symbol. So A is somehow some factor of that. Now this symbol, you can replace it. You can replace it with an equal K. That means A equals K over C squared. What that means is that K is a scale factor. And usually we need to work out that K to solve any problem. Now let's go ahead and see what they mean. So they tell us that A is 40 when C is 1.5. Let's substitute that in here. So this means you got 40 equals K over 1.5 squared. Therefore, K is going to be 40 times 1.5 squared, right? And that should give us 90. Remember, 40 times 1.5 squared, yeah? And now, because we know what K is, we can plug it back into this equation. So now we know that our equation is therefore A equals 90 over C squared. This is the main equation. This is the inverse equation that they want. Now we can solve the problem. So the question is, calculate the value of c when a is 1,000. So let's go ahead and just make c the subject, yeah? So what we can do, we can just swap a and c squared around, so times c squared divide a. So we've got c squared equals 90 over a, and a square root c, square root both sides. C equals the square root of 90 over a. Now we know what a is. They told us a is 1,000. So c equals the square root of 90 over 1,000. Put that in your calculator and then square root your result, and you should get a c value of 3 over 10. That's it. That covers that one as well. Alright, not bad. 16. So the diagram shows a circle with center O. So here's our center O. You got 55 degrees. Okay. Now, blah, blah, blah. So it tells us A, B, and C are points in a circle so that the length of the arc is 5 centimeters. Okay, they didn't label it here, but this is going to be 5 centimeters. Okay. Given that angle AOC is 55 degrees, work out the area of the circle. Interesting. So what they really want to say here is that they want to know what the radius is, yeah? So let's try and understand what this means. So the radius here is going to be r. The radius is always from the center of the circle to over there. Now, there's two parts to the question here. So we know the length of the arc, which is very useful, yeah? So we need a formula that talks about the length of the arc. And we have one. It's the circumference of a circle. So the circumference of a circle is always 2 pi r. And a similar one, the area of a circle is same thing, but pi r squared. So the two swap places. Now, let's have a look here. So they told us that the length of the arc, and the arc is basically like, by the way, if you're not sure what circumference is, if you had a whole circle, circumference is basically the length around the whole circle. That's circumference. And area of a circle, you know, it's just this region here. But we only want from A, B, and C. We want like a tiny portion, 55 degrees of it. So that means the arc is going to be kind of similar formula. The length of the arc will be the circumference, but only 55 degrees of it. So it'll be times 55. And remember, a circle's out, it goes around to 360 degrees. So 55 over 360 degrees. That is what we're given. Now let's have a look. We know the length of the arc is 5. So that means this equation over here will be 5 equals 2 pi r times 55 over 360. Now we want to make r the subject, yeah? So what you can do, all these are multiplied together, so you can throw everything underneath the 5. So you can say therefore the radius is going to be 5 over everything there. 2 pi times 55 over 360. Just put that in a calculator, guys, and you have your radius. That's literally sorted out. So let's do that right now. If you do that, you should get a radius value, and I'm going to take some decimals out of it. 5.2087. I mean, that's what I got. I'm going to double check my calculator. 5 over that. Yes, I think it's okay. That's what you should get for this one. Yeah. Now you know what the radius is. You can easily work out the area of the circle. Just plug into the area of the circle, which we had right here. So therefore, the formula is going to be, the area is going to be pi times just the value we just got right now, 5.2087, blah, 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 squared. So put that again in your calculator. And when you do that, you should get an answer of exactly, to one decimal place, 85.2 centimeters squared. Yeah, I think this hopefully is the right answer. See if you guys got the same thing, yeah? Cool, and that's it. That's that question done. So let's keep going. Yeah, we're doing really well, guys. Honestly, we're already on number 17, and I'm pretty sure I don't know what time the video is, but it's going good. So let's have a look. So A and B are two similar vases or vases, depending on what country you're from. Now the height is 10, and this one's 15. Okay. The difference between the volume of vase A and the volume of vase B is, wow, that's interesting. Is 1,197 centimeter cubed. Work out the volume of vase A. So let's put all these equations down, yeah? Now, when it comes to similar shapes, there's a very beautiful trick. It's basically called the ratio of lengths, areas, and volumes. What you want to do, we say that the ratio of lengths is just basically the length of, let's say the big one, length of B over the length of A. And then for volume, because volume is the power of 3, you're dealing with 3D shape, it will be the same ratio but cubed with the volume of B over the volume of A. Yeah. And that's all we really need, to be fair. Now, they tell us the difference between vase A and vase B is that value there. We're going to assume that VARSP is the big one because it actually is bigger. So that means VB minus VA is going to be 1197. Okay? Now we've got three equations. So let's see what we can do. So let's work with the first one. Let's find the ratio. The scale factor R. So this is actually a scale factor. So for the first one, I'm going to do over here, down a bit. So we know that length of B is 15, so 15 and A is 10. That means that's just 1.5. So R is 1.5. That checks out. Now let's use the second formula, yeah? Or the one on the VB over VA. So what we have now is 1.5 cubed equals VB over VA. Let's see what 1.5 cubed is. It's 3.375. So therefore, 3.375 equals VB over VA. Now here's the next question. What do we do next? Well, notice how we got two equations and two unknowns now. We got this one here, and we got this one here. So what we want to do, let's call this one equation 1 for a second. Let's go ahead and make, I don't know, let's say VB the subject, yeah? So we're going to times VA across. So this is now going to be 3.375 VA equals VB. And now we can substitute this one, called equation 2, into the first equation. We can replace this VB with this expression here. So we can say over here, substitute sub 2 into 1. You don't have to say this, but it actually makes it look neater. So we're going to replace this VB now with 3.375. So 3.375 VA minus VA equals 1197. Remember, yeah, this VA is basically 1 VA. So this is 3.375, take away 1. So it's going to therefore be 2.375 VA equals 1197. And we're almost done. We're trying to find the volume of A, yeah? So now you just divide it across. So therefore, VA is just going to be the right-hand side over the left-hand side. And that's it, guys. Put down your calculator and you should literally, hopefully be done. So that should be, let's see, divide that. So I'm going to calculate as well. 2.375 in the calculator. Hopefully I didn't make any mistake. Yep, 504. So the answer is 504 centimeter cubed. That's it. That's this one done too. This is a very interesting question. I actually liked it. I've never seen this type of based one. Yeah, they're coming up with new ideas. Hopefully it's not too terrible an exam. I hope you guys get the best version. Now, 18. So A equals W minus X squared over Y. So this is bounds already. So they tell us that you got three values and they're correct to certain decimal places. Okay, so what this means initially, so what we want to do is put W. Wow, what kind of W is that? I'm going to put W, X, and Y. Always put in this order, yeah? You're going to have less than equal here and less than over there. What we're trying to do now, we're trying to get the lower bound, which is this side, and then the upper bound on that side for all these values. Nice little trick. You start with the upper bound, yeah? So for the first number, you just stick a 5 at the end. In fact, you stick a 5 to all of them. So the upper bound for each one would be 3.455, 1.95, and then because it's a whole number, 5.5. And all you do is just decrease the value before the last decimal. So this one, the last figure. So then on the lower bound, this would just be 3.445. So it's this point here. Next one, the 9 drops to 8, so 1.85, and the 5 drops to 4, 4.5. Reason why we do this, because you can see that the difference here is one whole, is basically 1, and that's basically a whole number. The difference between here is also 1 decimal place, and the difference between here is 2 decimal places. So that's one thing I love about maths. It just somehow connects together in a beautiful way. Yeah, so that's how it. Reason why it's like that. Now, let's try and solve this question. So they said work out the lower bound of this equation. Now we have to ask ourselves, how can we? Lower bound means you want to minimize as much as possible. So to minimize it, you probably need to find firstly the greatest difference. That'll give us what we need to hear actually. Yeah, so greatest difference. Sorry. So to work out the lower bound of A, what they're trying to say, you have a term minus another term. When you subtract them, you want to find the lowest or smallest possible value between these two. So in other words, you want to get the smallest value of W and the biggest value of this fraction. So for A, let's call this lower bound of A. we need to get basically the smallest w value and a minus against the upper bound of that fraction. Okay, but we're not done here yet. So now we need to ask ourselves, how do you get the maximum ratio or division? Well, you want to get the biggest possible value on the numerator and the smallest on the denominator. So it's going to be now the lower bound of w equals the upper, minus, not equal again. I keep doing that. The upper bound of x squared over the lower bound of y. This gives us, you can see the maximum, the biggest ratio here. If you're not sure sometimes, test some numbers in your calculator. So, like, for example, say like 10 over 3 or 11 over 2. You can see that if you do that, like for example 10 over 3, you can see that's about 3.33, isn't it? But and if you keep increasing the numerator and decrease the denominator, let's do that as well, you get a value of 5.5. So you can see it's increasing. This means this is obviously the upper bound if this was actually some values we're using. So yeah, this checks out. Now all you do, guys, is substitute the values in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So for the lower bound of w, it's going to be 3.445. So let's circle it. And an upper bound of x, it will be this one, and the lower bound of y. That's the values you want. So just put them all in like that. So it'll be 1.95 squared over the lower bound of y, which is 4.5. And then let's see what that actually gives us. So I'm going to just enter it right now. Minus 1.95 squared over 4.5. You should get a clean answer again of 2.6. On to number 19. Okay, cool. Simultaneous equations. Now solve the pair of simultaneous equations, okay, and show clear algebra working. Now easy way to do this, always substitute the simple equation that's either x equal or y equal like that into the heavier looking equation. So we're going to replace all these y's now with 2x minus 3. So let's look at equation 1. So let's call this equation 1, yeah? So now we got 3x squared plus, instead of y squared, we've got now 2x minus 3 all squared, remember with the brackets, minus x, and you're going to replace y again with 2x minus 3. Again, always put the bracket, equals 5. Now, let's expand this all, yeah? So therefore, we've got 3x squared plus, when you've got a squared bracket, it means there's 2 of them, yeah? So it's literally 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. We can do it here. So 2x times 2x, 2x times minus 3, minus 3 times 2x, and minus 3 times minus 3. So we're going to get over here. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times minus 3 is minus 6x. Minus 3 times 2x is another minus 6x. And minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9. Cool. Now next part, expand this bracket. So minus x times 2x is minus 2x squared. Minus x times minus 3 is plus 3x. And that's supposed to equal 5. Okay, now we're almost done with this. So now let's collect like terms, yeah? So what we have here, we've got 3x squared and minus 2x squared. And plus 4x squared, I didn't even notice that for a second. That's going to give us, so let's see, 3 plus 4 is 7, minus 2 is 5. So 5x squared. Next one, so I'm going to change the colors. So you got minus 6x plus 3x. So that's minus 12 plus 3 is minus 9x. And last one, you got positive 9. And it's going to equal 5. In fact, let's just skip a step. Let's subtract 5 already to make it equal to 0 because it's quadratic. So 9 take away 5 is 4. Delete. Plus 4 equals 0. Okay, so again, guys, always double check the maths here because it's so easy to make a mistake in these kind of questions, and I need to always double check. So 9 take away 5. Cool. Now, what we have here is a classic quadratic, so what we want to do is either factorize it or honestly just use a quadratic formula because it's easier. So let's use quadratic formula. So quadratic formula tells us we need a, b, and c. And it looks like this. Minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And the a value is 5, the b value is minus 9, and the c value is 4. So let's substitute in. So we're going to have minus b, so it'll be plus 9, plus minus square root. Minus 9 squared is 81. Take away 4 is times 5 times 4. All over 2 times a, so 2 times 5. Okay. Now to enter this properly, just copy everything out and replace this plus minus with just a plus sign. And then repeat the calculation with a minus sign. So I'm doing it right now. So if I did a plus sign, you should get something like this. So you get 81 4 times 4 over 2 times 5. If I did a plus, I should get an x value firstly of 1. And if I just go back on the calculator and switch a plus to a minus sign, so switch that plus here with minus, the next result would be 4/5. So you have 2 clean x values. It doesn't stop there, guys. It even looks like it ends. Because you're going to realize at the bottom, in the question, it says solve the simultaneous equations. So you need to find the value of x and y. The good thing is, when you find the x values, pick an easy equation that has y in it, which is obviously this one. Because y is going to equal whatever 2x minus 3 is. So that's right over here. So we can say from equation 2, y equals 2x minus 3. See if I copied that right? Yep. And now we're going to sub the first one, yeah? So you can say, so when x equals 1, y equals, so it's basically going to be 2 times 1 minus 3. And that should give us literally minus 1. And same thing here, when x equals 4/5, y equals 2 times 4/5 minus 3. Do the same thing, 2 times 4/5. And you should get minus 7/5. So all your values are found. Now we just write it down in the bottom of the paper. So your first coordinate will be 1 minus 1 and 4/5 minus 7/5. That's one way to write it. Yeah, you can write it like that if you want. Or you can just write exactly as it is. Yeah, you can say when x is 1, y is minus 1. When x is 4/5, y is minus 7/5. They don't mind as long as it's on this page and it's clear somehow. Okay, where are we at? Number 20 now. So express this quadratic in reverse order in the form a plus b bracket x plus c. Okay, so this is a form known as completing the square. Now before we do anything, let's rewrite this and make it in the usual quadratic order. Yeah, so x squared first. So we should have firstly 3x squared plus 12x plus 7. That's the order we like to see things. Now to complete the square, before we do anything, we need to firstly factorize minus 3 out because it kind of makes the question a bit tougher. You take out minus 3 and just put a big square bracket and write x squared. So what we're doing here, we're dividing minus 3 across. So 12 divided by minus 3 would be minus 4x. And 7 divided by minus 3 is just a fraction. Minus 7 and 3. Okay. Now we're gonna apply this completing the square method. Yeah, that's basically what they're doing here. So we're gonna basically do something to that. Now, how to complete the square? So let's copy minus 3 open bracket for a second. The trick is to firstly take the first two terms and then look at the number 4 and then half it and then wrap it in a bracket. So it'd be x minus 2 squared, and you square it. And now all you do is copy the second bit, minus 7/3, and then subtract by what you just squared. So it'll be minus this value 2 squared. Well, you just half, and square it. And that's what they want. This would literally, you're pretty much done at this stage now. Now we just have to tidy up. So what we're going to do now in the calculator, we're going to do minus 7/3 minus 2 squared to tidy up just a little bit. Yeah, so it looks a bit more, nicer. So when you do that, you should have minus 3, big square bracket, x minus 2 squared. And then if you do the calculation right, you should get, I think, minus 19/3. And now let's expand the bracket here. So all you're going to do is attach this minus 3 to that bracket. So it'll be minus 3 attached to it because you're just multiplying. And then minus 3 times minus 19/3 is just plus 19. And now let's look at the question what they wanted. They wanted to write in this form. In other words, we got the right thing, but the 19, which is the a, should be in front. So you can say therefore it'll be the same answer, but now 19 minus the rest, 3 bracket x minus 2 squared. I hope this made sense, guys. I hope this made sense. This is known as completing the square. Okay. So next part. Now C is the curve of equation y equals 7 plus 12x minus 3x squared. The point A is the maximum point on C. Okay. Use your answer to part A to write down the coordinates of A. Now, so what you can do, literally, the maximum coordinate is just looking at this value here. So all we do is look at the x minus 2. So we know straight away that the maximum is going to be at 2. Max. It's going to be at x equals 2. So all we do now, x is at 2, substitute this back into the equation, into any equation you see, this equation or that equation, and you should get, let's do it right. So let's just substitute into this equation. This is y equals, by the way, yeah? minus 3. So it'll be 2 minus 2 squared. You realize 2 minus 2 is 0, and you're left with basically in a calculator of 19. So that should be the answer. So it should be, the corner should be 2 and 19. That's it. Alright guys, number 21. So we have a diagram which shows a prism A to K with horizontal base A, E, F, G. Okay, so you got basically a house, a very nice looking one. Now, ABCDE is a cross section of the prism, where ABD is a square, BCD is an equilateral triangle, which is cool because that implies that every angle in an equilateral triangle is 60 degrees. And same for the square, all the lengths are the same. And yeah, for the triangle, all the lengths are the same. In fact, you can see right now that if this length, whatever it is, if it's x, then this length would be x. So actually, looks like everything's going to be x or something else. Now, the length of EF is 2 times the length of AE. So EF is this length here. So if this was x, then we double it to 2x. M is the midpoint of GF, so that JM is vertical. So find GF. GF would be here, so this line over here, and they labeled M already. So they're talking about a downward vertical line from J to M. So it'll be perpendicular to this, so it'll be 9 degrees. So yeah, that'll be, what exactly? Yeah, it's just a midpoint. That's it. Now they tell us the angle MAJ is Y, so I guess they want to find this angle here. So from the midpoint M all the way to A, all the way to J, so it's going to be a right angle triangle because it's perpendicular to the ground. And given that tan Y equals T, find the value T, give me your answer in this third fraction form. Okay, so I've actually solved this one in advance because I think this one needed a lot of time and care. So I'm going to flip the screen to exactly show what I did. So look at this from a fresh perspective. We got a triangle sorted out. We know immediately it's a right angle triangle. Why? Because the vertical line is literally perpendicular to the ground. Remember, wall, straight line down from the ceiling or wall is perpendicular to your floor. Now let's relabel this. So AE we know is x, EF would be 2x, KF would be x as well because it's a square. We know the fact that this is a right equilateral triangle, so we've got 60 degrees. And of course, JK and rest are x. So now what we're going to do, we're going to pull out this right angle triangle because we know this is literally a right angle triangle. But before that, I'm going to just label this point N because it's the midpoint of H and K. And we know NK is half of x. But I'm going to do something different, yeah? I'm going to just pull it out and use the SOHCAHTOA rule. Now, check it out. So we've got JN x 60. So when you use SOHCAHTOA, we need to firstly look at which one is the opposite, adjacent, and so on, and just label what we have. So immediately we can see that JN, which is opposite 60, is therefore the opposite. And the long diagonal side is the hypotenuse. So we're going to put H at the top. Therefore, we're going to use the sine rule. Yeah, because sine is literally so, as in SOHCAHTOA. Now therefore, this means we're going to have sine of the angle 60, which is equal to the opposite JN over x. Perfect. Now all you want to do is literally just multiply x across, so you're going to have JN the subject. And if you do that, you're going to get x times sine 60. And sine 60 in your calculator, guys, just pop it in. You get root 3 over 2 x, because remember, you still got x. And that's it. All your answers here are going to be terms of x. That's what we're going to do. Now, because we know that this length here is now root 3 over 2x, and we know that this long down from m to n is x, we can work out the length of JM. So that means we're going to have x plus our answer, which is JM, x plus root 3 over 2x. Now, we don't leave our answer like that, guys. Yeah, it doesn't look that nice. So we want to factorize x out. Remember, x is 1x. If you factorize it, it should be 1 plus root 3 over 2, close bracket, x. X could be in the front or back, by the way. Now we got that. So JM is sorted. So we can take that off. Now, the next thing we want to look at is finding the length of AM. So to do that, we need to firstly understand that we can probably just draw another triangle, another line from M connecting to the midpoint of AE. Because why? You make another right angle triangle. So look a bit like this. And then you can finish off to A. And we know straight away this is going to be a right angle triangle, because this is literally parallel to EF, and that makes it perpendicular to the point. So let's pull out the triangle. What we have here, we know that this whole length is 2x, and we know that this length A to the midpoint is just half of x, so it would be 0.5x. So we've got AM that we can work out. Now this is much nicer than the first one because you can just use Pythagoras. You know, you got right angle triangle, you got 3 things, let's use Pythagoras. And Pythagoras tells us we need to square both of these short sides to equal the diagonal side squared. So 2x squared plus 0.5x squared must equal AM squared. Now, easy trick, guys, because you got a calculator. Just type this. In your calculator, type this. Type 2 squared plus 0.5 squared, just like that. And if you do that, you get an answer, and then square root it, and you should get root 17 over 2. And because we've got x squared, remember, you're squaring that as well, so you get x. And you're square rooting both of them, so this becomes just am. So am should equal that. Now, literally, we're practically done, guys, because now we have jm sorted, we have am sorted. Let's pull out the final triangle, which is AJM. Now, we got the length of AM and JM. We know that the answer has to be in terms of tan, because that's what they told us. But just to be clear, why is tan? Tan tells us, which is TOA, we need opposite and adjacent. We know opposite angle Y is JM, which is the opposite. And we know AM is the adjacent, because it's next to the angle. So it's going to be tan of the angle Y, which equals opposite JM over AM. So it looks like that. And just substitute what you just found, guys, yeah? Oops. Substitute what you found. And when you do that, oh yeah, one thing I forgot. Because you got x on both sides, you can cancel it now. You can literally just cancel like that, because x over x cancels out. And that's it, guys. We're practically done. So put this in your calculator, 1 plus root 3 over 2 over that, and you should get an answer that looks a bit like that. Now be careful, this ain't the final answer. Why? Because they wanted it in a specific solution. They wanted it in terms of root p plus root q. Now 2 root 17 doesn't fit that. The way to make it work, you see the 2 over here. So the whole 2 can be written as root 4. And how do you know that? The trick is square it. So 2 squared is 4, and then put a root over it. So it'd be square root of 4 times square root of 17. So it'll be like this, root 4, root 17. Put that in a calculator, you're going to get exactly root 68. And that's it. This is the answer, guys. Let me know how this one went. Okay, guys, number 22. Let's begin. So the diagram shows triangle OAB, and we're given a couple of points. So it tells us that the vector from O to A is 8A. So best thing you should guys do is always label as you go. So let's label O to A 8A, yeah? And the next one, O to B, is 6B. So O to B is over here, but we've got M in the middle. But it says M is the point in OB such that the ratio between OM to MB is 1 to 2. So as always, guys, you know, when you got ratios, let's whip out the parts. So 1 plus 2 is 3 parts. Now what that really means is that 1 out of 3 is associated to O to M. So 1/3 of the whole line, so 1/3 of 6B is going to give us 2B. That's basically this one over here. And of course, to make 6B altogether, the rest needs to be 4B. So that's it, guys. So we've basically completed what we need to know so far. Now, it says N is the midpoint of AB, so this is very useful, which is over here. And P is the point of intersection of ON and AM. Okay, so that's right over here. Using a vector method, find OP as a simplified expression in terms of A and B. Okay, so they want to basically find a vector for this one right here. So that's our objective. Now, when it comes to these kind of questions, guys, there's always like one usual way to do it. Is to basically make 2 pairs of OP equations and solve them simultaneously. So let's have a look. Now, let's think about how we can go to OP. So we can go with, like, literally any possible route. One route I'm going to take right now, yeah, which I can see. So I'm going to go from O to A, and then A to N, and then to P. But let's calculate O to N first, yeah, to make it a bit easier. So O to N. So let's change this to red. Now, to go from O to N, how do we do that? Well, we know we can go from O to A, so that's 8A already. We're traveling 8A across. Now we need to figure out how to get from A to N. Now, one cool thing about vectors, guys, yeah, is that you can literally take any route you want as long as you get there. So have a look. So to go from A to N, we can basically go pretty much all the way back to O, back to B, and then literally realize that this is basically the halfway mark. So this is half the distance of 8A going back and 6B going across. So it's basically saying that it's half of, now I'll keep it positive, 6B minus 8A. Okay, so we went 8A back and 6B across. Now we just tidy this up. And this, you know, it's always good to actually write this here as well. So we went from here. So half of 6B minus half times everything inside a bracket should give us 3B minus 4A. So that's basically what we traveled. So 8A plus, you know, if you just summarize this carefully in your calculator, remember, collect like terms because it's in terms of A and B, yeah? You should get an answer of what? So 8A plus half times minus 8A. That's basically minus 4A, so it'd be plus 4A here. And then you're left with plus, you know, half of 6B, which is 3B. So that's cool. So now we found ON. How about we extend it a little bit, yeah? And go straight to OP now. Now to find OP, let's have a look. So it's just basically another way of doing this, yeah? The thing is, when you're banging the center here, there's no other way to explain this. So all we can say is that we should recognize that O to P is basically a scale factor of O to N, isn't it? So we need to find some scale factor, like how far is it? So we can say like we've got some scale factor K times O to P, and times O to N, sorry. And O to N is 4A plus 3B. We found one equation, so one equation is sorted out. Now we need to find the second equation. So I'm going to rub out this vector root. And what we're going to do, we're going to ask ourselves how we're going to find another O to P. So let's have a look. To get to O to P, I could take this route now. I can start from O, go up here, and get to P. But how do we do this exactly? Well, here's a nice little trick here. We can realize this. So if I put like a second equation here, we could say we're traveling 4B across. But what does M to P represent? Well, just like the other question, M to B is another scale factor of M to A. And we can calculate M to A. So to calculate M to A, so I'm going to write here, plus M to P. M to A, if you travel from M to A, is literally just going basically from M to O and then O to A. So it's basically minus 2B plus A. That's all it is. That's how you get from M to A. So we can say that MP, so this is basically 2B plus some scale factor. I'm going to call this one mu of M to A. And we know what M to A is now. M to A is basically going from literally M to A. So minus 2B plus 8A. But I'm going to rearrange it. I'm going to write plus 8A minus 2B. Just keep it, positive. So and that's it. And then as always, what we need to do, we need to collect in terms of A's and B's, yeah? So for this one, if I collect in terms of A, it's going to be 8 mu A. And then for the B parts, we got 2B plus mu times minus 2B. So just to summarize it, it's just literally going to look like this. It's just going to be 2 minus 2 mu B. That's if you expanded it and then collected like terms, yeah? And I should have done the same for the first one on the left, the A one as well, the red one. If I expanded this one, it would just be 4K A plus 3K B. That's it. Okay, so we're basically almost done, guys, now. Now the question is, what do we do next? Now we basically found two sets of equations, which is perfect. This is the one OP equation, and this is the second OP equation. Now all you have to do is literally solve this in terms of coefficients. Yeah, so we look at the A's, we match up the A's. So let's do it like this. So if we look at the A terms, we can say that in front of the A we've got 4K, and it has to somehow equal 8 mu. So 4K has to equal 8 mu. And if we look at the B's as well, we can see that we need 3K for the B's, and has to somehow equal 2 minus 2 mu. And that's it, guys. Solve this simultaneously, find the value K, substitute back in the OP equation, and you're done. So let's do it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify the A equation, yeah? We've got 4K equals 8 mu. If you divide 4 across, you're going to have K equals 2 mu. And now we can basically replace this whole 2 mu with K. So that means this equation becomes 3K equals 2 minus, instead of 2 mu, we're going to call it K. And now, making K the subject, add K across, you got 4K equals 2. And then dividing 2 across, you're going to get, dividing 4 across, you're going to get K equals 2 over 4 or half. Okay, and that's it. By the way, it's a bit glitchy for some weird reason. I don't even know why. I'm using a snipping tool. So K equals half. Don't bother about the mu, by the way, guys, but you can work it out. Because why? We literally have an OP equation here. So we can just use this one. If you worked out mu, you could use this equation instead to find your vectors. But just remember what the question was. It says find literally OP. So we have OP. Let's substitute the value K we just found into the OP equation. So we can say therefore OP equals 4 times, so 4 times a half, which is 2. So you got 2A. And then plus, and then 3 times a half, so that's 3 over 2 or 1.5b. And that's it, guys. This is the equation they want. So the diagram shows a sketch of the curve of equation y equals fx. So this is just your general upside down quadratic, and the highest point or the turning point is 5, 7. Okay, cool. Now it says here that there is only one maximum point on the curve, which is 5, 7. And then they want us to write down the coordinates of the maximum point on the curve with these given transformations. Okay, cool. I love these kind of questions. Now a little quick tip, guys, here. Every time you've got like a little bracket like this, fx plus 9 inside the bracket, think of quadratic equations. If we remember, yeah, when you wrap things in a bracket equal to 0, the answer is always this inverse. So it's going to be x equals minus 9. What this means in terms of graphs is that this graph now, the x-axis, 5, 7, is going to shift 9 to the left. So it's basically start from 5, subtract 9. And 5 take away 9 is minus 4. So the coordinate of that maximum is now minus 4. And of course, the y coordinate doesn't change, yeah? So it'll be minus 4, 7. Likewise for this one, yeah? You got plus 3 on the outside. All this means that y equals plus 3. So this one is exactly as it says. So same thing applies. Just add 3 to the 7 and you get 10. So the coordinate is 5, 10. This is crazy, you know? After coming from vectors, this is literally a minute. So, final question of the paper, yeah? Number 24. Now, what's this asking? It says the curve C has equation y equals so on, so it's a cubic equation. Now the point A with coordinate 2, minus 6 lies on the C. So usually you probably have to plot this in here and see what it gives you. And the gradient of the curve at A is 16, so m equals 16. Now cool thing about this question, because you've got a cubic equation and you have gradient, you have to use differentiation. Because if you remember, dy over dx is literally the gradient equation. So we're literally going to have to definitely differentiate this. Now they want us to find the y coordinate of the point on the curve whose x coordinate is 3. So we know straight away that 3 and something is y. So that's basically what the answer they're looking for, the y coordinate. Now, let's do one step at a time, yeah? So first line, point A with coordinates 2, minus 6. Let's plug in x values of 2 and y value minus 6. So we could say at 2 minus 6, we should have minus 6 equals, so a times 2 cubed. So let's do it in a calculator at the same time. Yeah. So 2 cubed is 8, so it'll be 8a plus, and then 2 squared is 4, so it'll be plus 4b minus 12 times 2 is 24 plus 6. Let's tidy all this up here. So I'm going to make it all equal to 0. So you're going to have 8a plus 4b, and just collect everything. So you got minus 24 plus 6, and then you're going to add 6 again across. It should reduce to minus 12. In fact, I'm going to move the other side. I'll make it equal to 12. So that looks like we're going to have simultaneous equations here. Now the second part, the gradient of the curve at A is 16. So this means when you differentiate this, it should equal to 16. So let's do that. So to differentiate, guys, if you're not too sure how to do that, all you got to do is literally drop the power in front and subtract the power by 1. So for example, ax cubed becomes 3a x to the power 2. Subtract the power by 1. Bx squared, drop the power, becomes 2bx power 1. If you've got normal powers, the x vanishes, so it becomes minus 12. If you're left with just a value or constant, that becomes 0. That disappears. So this is what it gives you. And if you remember, the gradient equals 16. So here's our second equation right here. Okay. Now one more point about this. It tells us that this is the gradient at the point A. And we know at the point A, the x coordinate is 2. So let's pop in the x value of 2 into this equation here. Yeah? So you're going to have 3a times 2 squared. Yeah. So 3 times 2 squared is 12. So this becomes 12a plus, and then remember, x is 2, yeah, so it'll be 2 times 2 is 4, so it'll be 4b. And just like the other one, I'm going to move minus 12 across, so it'll be 16 plus 12 is 28. Now here we go, guys. We've got two pairs of simultaneous equations right there. So let's change the color pen. So we're going to work with equation 1 and equation 2. Now, actually, this is easy to deal with. Because they both have 4b, we can literally subtract equation 1 from equation 2, yeah? So let's do 2 take away 1. So 12a take away 8a will give us 4a. 4b take away 4b is nothing, which is perfect. 28 take away 12 is 16. Nice. And therefore, to find a divided by 4, you get 16 over 4, which is 4. And then to find b, just pick any equation that looks like the easiest to work with. So I'm going to pick equation 1. So from equation 1, making b the subject, you've got 4b equals 12 minus 8a, and then again divide by 4, b equals, so divide everything by 4, which I'm just going to leave as a fraction. Just plug in a value for a. So a was 4, remember? So it's just going to be, so just put in a calculator, 12 take away 8 times 4 over 4, you should get a b value of minus 5. Perfect. So we got both of them now. So we got a and b. So what was the question? It says find the y coordinate of the point on the curve whose x coordinate is 3. Oh yeah. So here's our equation at the top. Let's update these values, yeah? So we know here a is 4, so just be 4x cubed minus 5x squared minus 12x plus 6. Perfect. Now, just find the y coordinate. So we know when x is 3, so let's just do it up here because we're basically done. So when x is 3, guys, just plug in 3 into this equation. So you're going to get 4 times 3 cubed minus 5 times 3 squared minus 12 times 5 plus 6. You should get a y value of 33. And that's it. That should be the end of the question, guys. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please give me a like, subscribe, and share it. Share it with all your friends, guys, all your colleagues, your teachers. Trust me, it would help my channel a lot, and it'll help it to grow continuously. I want you guys to I want everyone to benefit from this, and I want to continue making more papers, especially if you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys next time, inshallah. Take care and have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.